think I saw a statistic that said something like the technologies that we'll use between now and 2030 are pretty much set, but the technologies that we'll use between 2030 and 2050 are largely still under development.
Yeah.
And that just means that there's going to be a tremendous amount of change in this landscape in which legislation is changing and there are new technologies being introduced. And companies will continue to adjust their strategies based on this legislation and these technologies. So I just sort of see a landscape that is continuing to sort of shift into place as we move into the future.
Definitely. I think for utilities, I'm seeing a very similar thing, especially with the rise of ESG investing. A lot of pressure is being put onto the boards of a lot of these companies in order to move into greener assets and make sure they're reaching net zero by 2050. So a lot of these goals, I think for companies, they're going to continue to have huge capital investments in sort of reaching net zero, especially in renewables, which is something they can put out to the public. But I think they're also going to be doing huge work behind the scenes, upgrading their grids, installing smart meters, just so that they can do more remote monitoring, so they can increase the amount of efficiency, manage the amount of power going around throughout the day. I think for utilities, there's also a huge shift towards electric vehicles. As you know, sort of the business model, more electric vehicles means more electricity being used, more revenue for a lot of the utilities companies, so they have a huge incentive to invest in EV charging infrastructure. And I think that's going to be one of the things that is growing very quickly in order to sort of reduce the amount of emissions in general overall, and that's a way that a lot of these utilities companies can also reduce some of their scope 3 emissions. And I think the final trend that I'm seeing is a lot of this variable renewable energy. What we're seeing there, a lot of the excess energy can be used to create hydrogen, and essentially that's long-term form of energy storage and also a green sort of green fuel that you can use in the future as well.